with SEALs, Green Berets, most pilots. Tell me I can't do something, and then watch.
When America needs to project combat power, there is nothing like a carrier strike group coming off your coast.
If you need it quick, it's an aircraft carrier off your coast that has historically for 80 years been a power projection tool that the United States has, and the first question out of every president's mouth is, "Where's the carrier?" And it's intended to prevent conflict from either starting or getting worse, but it can certainly deliver a lot of ordnance if necessary, and at a better cost than a lot of missiles that we're shooting around these days. So I was very proud of my Navy time on aircraft carriers. I did 8 deployments total on aircraft carriers, 1 on the ground with my SEAL brethren. But I'm also a huge proponent of the silent service because you can't find out where they are. They're very quiet, and they put fear in the heart of the adversary as well.
Well, we're going to talk about all of the elements of combat power. But importantly, right now, we got to thank you and your team and the For Country Caucus for bringing us back into the halls of Congress to sit down with another series of members. We were here back in September, right before the election, and we had some great exchanges as we were gearing up for the election with a number of the members. And now to be able to come back, speak post-election with another group is critically important.
It's a different world.
Message out.
It's a different world after the election.
It is a different world. So you can feel it when you walk in the building. But you represent Texas 6th District, so it's southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth.
That's right.
I know my Texas.
That's very good.
From the northeast. And you got a large portion of Tarrant County, which I know is part of Dallas, is part of that.
Tarrant County is Mansfield, which is where Fort Worth is. Tarrant County is Fort Worth, and Dallas County, I do have part of Irving, Las Colinas. So it's a very strange district, and then very rural south and southeast of that.
Mm-hmm. It's your 3rd consecutive term in Congress. You were part of the 118th and the 117th. As you mentioned, graduate of the Naval Academy, 20 years as a helicopter pilot, and also you flew F-14s and F-18s. You served on the Ronald Reagan, among other ships, and you talked about your combat deployments. But also, post-service, interestingly, and I'm going to ask you about this, you spent time as a military contractor in Afghanistan. You've run small businesses, a commercial airline pilot, and then held state titles as well.
I did.
Which I think is important to when we talk about understanding government and the difference between state government and federal government. And I think that's a conversation that's being had certainly today. All you got to do is turn on the news.
Absolutely. Very
importantly for this conversation, though, you are a member of the House Appropriations Committee, and so that's the power of the purse.
It is. And the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. I'm the vice chair of that.
And we can't do anything without the money.
That's right.
And that is a topic, I think, that permeates every administration. But when we look at change, which we're certainly undergoing some rapid change right now, I think that's going to be a very big topic of discussion over the next couple of weeks.
It is.
So the 119th Congress has just started. We're a few weeks in. It's your 3rd go-around. So let's start with the 119th Congress. You got 100 members who are veterans that serve in Congress in this session. That is the most over the course of the last 8 Congresses that have convened. Veterans, by and large, I think are great team players, and they're results driven. And they create unity in organizations. I don't think it matters what side of the aisle you sit on. We have definitely come out of the most politically charged campaign that we've had possibly since Aaron Burr, I think, shot someone. And we had President Trump get shot at.
Yes.
So certainly a very divisive campaign, but everybody is coming together with the message of, hey, we've got to figure out how to get along now, bring America back together, and let's get after it for the people. As you look across your fellow veterans in Congress, how are you working with them and rallying them to see the unity that has to happen for the country?
Well, it's a new Congress, it's a new administration, it's a new philosophy on defense, and we have 26 members of the For Country Caucus, some of whom are brand new to Congress. So we are just getting organized. I'm a new co-chair, as is Don Davis. There have been some changes to the organizational setup, and so we're looking forward to having a nonpartisan, defense-driven, national security and veterans care caucus that is increasingly vocal and increasingly effective on making sure that as Americans who have served, we know what's important. We put our lives on the line. A couple of them have been drafted. We've got 2 Vietnam veterans, one Republican, one Democrat, who were actually drafted, and everybody else is a volunteer with a vast array of experiences, both in combat and in peacetime, medical care, pilots, infantry, Green Berets. So we run the gamut, but we all get along really well. And you know, there's a thing about veterans. It really doesn't matter which era, what your uniform was, or how well you know somebody who's a veteran. There is a sense of humor that we all share that we can only share amongst veterans. Nobody else gets into that world. Nobody else can insult a fellow veteran and the understanding be that that's brotherly love. Yeah. Nobody else gets to do that. Nobody gets to talk to me like that who's not a veteran. But my veteran friends can insult me all day long, and I love it. Dan Crenshaw is a prime example. Mike Garcia, who just who got defeated, I was in VFA 14 with him. He and I would go back and forth, and it was all about how veterans can interact with each other. Nobody else gets to play that game but fellow veterans.
Well, I mean, speaking of, you did decide to join the Navy, so you were looking for the easy way out.
I was looking for the easy. That's absolutely true. Landing on carriers for 20 years, that's the easy way out. I completely agree. But I couldn't swim, so I wasn't going to be a SEAL. Yeah. I'm terrible at swimming.
No.
And I didn't want to stand in formation to find out when the next formation is, like the Army does.
Well, you got to wait on the word. That's it. What are you doing over here? We're waiting on the word.
Well, I'm kind of an independent thinker. I know you guys have to be told what to do.
That's why I had to go.
See, it's that kind of thing. We don't even know each other, and we're already going back and forth on it. Veterans get to do that, and it's a bonding mechanism between veterans. And I do it to Don Davis, and we don't know each other that well, but we're getting to know each other really well very quickly. And so that's part of the because up here, you know, how do you, especially in the For Country Caucus, we trust each other inherently because we're all veterans, and we know that there is a line in which you can't betray that trust. You're going to be out. Mm-hmm. So we automatically trust each other and have that camaraderie that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Well, it's about the mission.
Sure.
You know, and what matters is the mission. But I want to ask you, as we're joking about the Navy, why join the Navy in the first place?
Originally, well, I always wanted to fly jets. And originally, I used to get Air Force magazine and wanted to fly the F-16 or the F-15. And then my stepdad and I were talking about it. He took me flying when I was 7. I was hooked. I knew I wanted to be a fighter pilot of some kind. And then he said, well, you know, F-18s land on aircraft carriers that have a 300-foot runway with 3 wires. And I have a history of trying to do the hardest thing possible just because I know, looking back on life, if I hadn't tried, I mean, running for Congress, failing a couple of times running for office, you have to give that effort. And I think that's another commonality among veterans. You have to try something that's going to test you. And so I wanted to fly fighters off of aircraft carriers. And when I selected out of primary flight training, I got helicopters, and I was told that I would never fly jets. That's another thing, is especially with SEALs, Green Berets, most pilots, tell me I can't do something, and then watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's about the result. You know, failure's never an option.
Never an option.
And I think when you look at elite performance in any industry, even the most successful business people, you know, they'll tell you all the time that, you know, was there always a fear that you might not make it? It's sort of in the back of your head, but you always had a plan. Yeah. There was always a plan to succeed, and that's what what matters.
And that's the SEALs. You know, I spent 6 months with them, with my colleague Morgan Luttrell and his brother Marcus. We were on deployment together in Iraq in 2006, and you know, Marcus's motto is "Team never quit." So, and he never did. So that's a commonality amongst all of us too.